Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and we are answering publicly posted questions, except not today. We're answering a privately posted question that someone said that I could actually answer if I strip out all identifying characteristics. So that's what we're doing. Please like and subscribe. If you find this video helpful, it does help me to help more people just like you. Here is our question, which I will read into the record. If you have an attorney representing you, but he is clear and transparent and tells you from the get-go that he is not a trial attorney, and if your matter goes to trial, he will recommend you to someone, to a good trial attorney, is this common? Or is it a bad sign because it would seem obvious if a settlement is not agreed upon, then he loses out of the contingency amount and the trial attorney would get that instead. Also, if you have an attorney, can you get a second opinion from a trial attorney in the same way that you might get a second opinion from doctors? Okay. So I've always said, always, you have to prepare every single case like it's going to trial. Most cases don't go to trial, right? I think there's a lot of data to reflect, in my experience, a settlement rate above 98% in this field. It's going to be different attorney to attorney. But the settlement rate's incredibly high, right? Doesn't mean that your case is going to settle. Doesn't mean anything. Every case is different. Blah, 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 right? But that being said, the settlement rate's really high. And that's why attorneys who are just settlement artists exist in this field, because they can settle almost everything. However, if you're working with a firm that doesn't have a trial team ready to go, generally speaking, defense attorneys will know that. They talk, they know who is and isn't a trial attorney, right? Like, it's not a mystery. There's not that many employment attorneys. You can pretty much know all of them. If somebody calls me up and says, hey, I talked to an employment attorney, and they happen to be in New York State, and they threw out a name I've never heard before, I'm instantly skeptical. Do I know every single employment attorney in New York State? No. But I know so many of them that if his name is someone I haven't heard before, I'm like, well, is that person really an employment attorney? I don't know. What's their credentials? What have they done? How long? Where? Right? I want to know. That's the kind of small community that employment attorneys are. So defense counsel will know if you have a settlement artist as an attorney. Why does that matter? Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head here. So it's not that your attorney, if he transfers the case to a trial attorney, will get nothing. He'll work something out with a trial attorney. That's not the issue. It's that defense counsel knows that your attorney will probably get more if he gets the case settled without it going to trial, which means you've got some mixed motives there, right? Like, the defense attorney's like, we'll call your attorney Jimbo. I don't know your attorney. I don't know anything about your attorney. I'm just making up a name. Defense attorney speaking to Jimbo. Jimbo. I can probably get your guy 6 figures. I can get him $100,000. No more than that, though. No more. Jimbo says, well, I think this case could be worth more. I think maybe we should be talking mid 6 figures. This, that. And the defense attorney's like, no, I don't see that happening. No, I mean, without you going to trial, I don't see that happening, Jimbo. Jimbo's in there. Jimbo's doing some math. Jimbo's saying to himself, well, I could get my client $100,000 and pocket something between $25,000 and $50,000, depending on what Jimbo's percentage is, right? Or I could transfer this case to a trial attorney, because I know that defense attorney just kind of said if it goes to trial, case could be worth a lot more, maybe, right? Even settlement stakes might be higher on a case that's proceeding to trial, right? If you're on the eve of trial, often the best settlement offers can still come out, right? So now Jimbo's got to sit there and think, well, I can settle this now and get a higher percentage and not share the money with anybody and get the money sooner, or I can help my client find trial counsel, give up most of my percentage, and wait a couple of years, potentially, to get anything if this wins at trial at all. What choice did Jimbo make? I don't know. I don't know Jimbo. But I know I wouldn't love to be that client who has an attorney doing that thinking, that mental math, right? That's not ideal. That said, I know several highly talented solo practitioners who you probably could describe as settlement artists, right? And I separate settlement artists from case flippers, right? Like I've talked about it on the channel many times. There's people who take an employment case, let's say they take it for like 40%, right? And they immediately make 2 calls, spend 2 hours on the case, call up their client and say, hey, I got 20 grand. You better take it. This is all you're going to get. Take it right now. Take it. And that case might have been worth 100 grand, might have been worth 500 grand, might have been worth 25 grand. I don't know, right? But they want to settle that case for 20 grand, and they can probably do that in a couple of hours, depending on the case, right? And why do case flippers do that? Because that attorney, if they're on a 40% contingency, just made 8 grand for settling a case for 20 grand, which means that attorney, if she or he spent 2 hours, made $4,000 an hour. That is why case flippers exist. Separate case flippers from settlement artists. Settlement artists are actually trying to get a good settlement for their client. That's why they are artistes, right? They're doing good work. But you can't do your best work if you're not ready to go to trial, right? A settlement artist who just settles cases and is not attached to a trial team that they have a relationship with, a long-standing relationship that not only do they have in place, but also defense counsel, the employment law community writ large knows about, right? Right. There's definitely law firms that get better settlements because they have a really good trial attorney attached to them, right? We love the trial attorney we work with here. We think it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal trial team, right? I can tell you right now, there are defense attorneys who hate our current trial guy so much. They don't hate him as a human being. But they do hate working with him because he's just going to paper. They know he's going to paper them to death. Everything's going to be so annoying. Every discovery dispute is going to be a major war. Like, you know, it's every little nitpicky detail. He'll fight it to the last drop of blood. It's what he does. 2 things. Annoys the hell out of defense counsel. 2, drives up legal fees for the defendant like crazy. And now, to be clear, nobody's doing that in a frivolous manner. We're not doing that because these are not valuable things and we're just driving up fees. That is not what's going on. These are valuable points. Like if you want something in discovery, you want it for a reason, not for some nonsense, right? The important thing though is if you want something, you need to take it to the mat. You need to fight it to the end to make sure you get what you need. A lot of attorneys don't do that. A lot of attorneys, put out the discovery requests, get some of it, and say, okay. Can't be the way it goes, right? But if you don't have a litigation team, if you don't have people who are going to try this case and keep an eye on the case from the start, right? We assign a team of 3 attorneys here, and one of those people is specifically tasked with the trial strategy because every case should be prepared as if it's going to trial. That is how you maximize the value of a case. Whether you maximize it at trial by lowering risk and increasing potential value, or by preparing for trial, you maximize your settlement because that's what your client wants, right? So yes, I absolutely believe there is room for people who settle cases and get good settlements for their cases. But I think they should have a long-standing, well-publicized, well-known, broadly known relationship with hyper-talented trial counsel if that's something they want to do. And there should be people attached to the team. And if it's a solo practitioner, it's all going to be the same person. But the people working the case need to work the case as if it's going to trial. Always. No exceptions. Just you can't. Can't say, it's going to settle, so we're not going to do this and that. The minute defense counsel sees you not do this and that, defense counsel says, lowball, right? Like, it's how they think. I'm not saying defense counsel are bad people. I'm saying they're rationally self-interested and they want to get better deals for their clients. And if they see you're not getting ready for trial, they're gonna turn that knife if they can, right? You better believe it. So, do I think it's fundamentally a problem that your attorney is not a trial attorney? No. I would not, at this stage in my career, I would not describe myself as a trial attorney. But I do think it's very important that every case be worked in a manner under the close supervision of someone who is preparing that case for trial and will be trying that case. Is a stakeholder, personal interest in making sure that trial is successful, right? That to me is very important. There's a second part to your question, and I'm already at the 11-minute mark. Can you get a second opinion? Always, but a lot of attorneys are not going to talk to you once you're represented, right? So people will call me up and just be like, they want to sit down. I need to come in and sit down with you for a couple hours, but I have an attorney. Probably not going to happen. You have an attorney. I'm not going to step on that person's toes. Presumably you hired that attorney for a reason. You should have these conversations with your attorney, right? It's actually a theme, and there's a lot of people who call us up and like, no, I just want to sit with Vince for 3 hours. I just need to go over my case top to bottom. I have an attorney. I'm not going to hire you guys. I just need you to go over my case. No, you have an attorney. Speak to your attorney, right? If you have an ethical concern, if your attorney's doing something wrong and you want to discuss that, I will take the time to try to help you. But if you're just like looking, and I'm not saying you are, just to be clear, the person asking the question, I'm not saying you're doing this. You're just saying, hey, can I get a second opinion? You absolutely can. You absolutely can. But not every attorney is going to want to have that conversation. And nothing I'm saying now is me criticizing that question. But we'll get people just like, yeah, I just need Vince. Seems like a nice guy. I need 3-4 hours of his time. No, I'm not going to hire you. Yeah, you have an attorney. You're being helped. If you have help, I'm not going to be as eager to give you help, right? Because you have help. I'm going to go help people who don't have help, generally speaking. Like, that's kind of my perspective on that. But yes, you can absolutely get a second opinion. Some attorneys might charge you for that. Some attorneys are just going to say no, they're not going to do that. But you can find an attorney who will give you a second opinion. Just be mindful that that attorney is going to have to read a lot. They're going to have to go over a lot. They're going to have conversations with you because it's a totality of the circumstances kind of calculation, right? You're not just reading the complaint and saying, ooh, I think you should get X amount of dollars. You're reading the docket. You're looking at the legal risks. You're looking at the factual risks. You're looking at the ability of the client to communicate and to testify. How good of a witness will she or he be? You're looking at the emotional damages, looking at the therapist as an expert witness. Will the therapist testify? Will the therapist run screaming from the room? Is the therapist a super sketchy professional witness who will not come across as an endearing or sincere human being, right? There's so many things that go into evaluation. You're asking for a huge investment of time. So when you find an attorney who will do that service for you, they will probably charge you. And they will probably charge you their full hourly rate. And you could end up easily getting billed for 4 or 5 hours. So yes, you can absolutely get a second opinion, but be aware it might not come cheap. And not too many attorneys are going to talk to you for 20 minutes and just be like, I think you should get this much. Because that would be a bit ridiculous. Right? You can do a shorthand and be like, okay, so we've talked 20 minutes. I think based on what I know right now, shorthand, very loose guess, I'd probably want to start with the demand at about this much. But that's not a case valuation. That's a shorthand guess based on preliminary discussions and interactions, right? As the attorneys learn more about the case, they're going to have a more fully featured view on the case valuation. And that conversation is going to become much, much more detailed and in depth. And when you're asking for a second opinion, what you're really asking for is that level of detailed, in-depth knowledge about your case, because otherwise it's just somebody who doesn't know that much countering the opinion of somebody who knows everything, because they've done everything. They've lived the case. They've worked the case, right? It wouldn't be that valuable to have a conversation for 20 minutes with somebody and then have them be like, yeah, I think your attorney's wrong. Your attorney who spent 97 hours working on this case is probably wrong. I assure you, the person you spoke to for 20 minutes does not likely know the case as well as the attorney who spent 97 hours on the case, right? That makes sense. So yes, you can get you can get a second opinion, same way you can with doctors, but do it right, and just be aware that you're probably going to pay for that. All right. If this was helpful, like and subscribe. If it was not, comment down below. Let me know how I fell short, and I will try to track those comments. I track them very closely, and I'll try to give you follow-up answers, answering whatever questions I fell short on. Okay? Good luck to you.